All right, team R105. Again, next month's resistance workout. So you're going to use load and range of motion to drive that heart rate. But remember, as always, we always use form. Always form is perfect. We got to make sure their form is good. Then their range of motion, then you add the load. But you don't do anything until their form is perfect and they actually have a decent range of motion. Until then, don't increase their load. Once they got that, then you can start increasing their load to get that heart rate up. All right, so exercise number 1 is going to be the dumbbell flat bench hold press. So this is going to be a little bit harder than a normal actually quite a bit harder than a normal dumbbell press. But what we're going to do is, again, you're going to grab it, you're going to put it on your legs, you're going to roll up. They're going to come into this position, you're going to press. Now, when you come down, you're going to hold. It's going to be a low hold. So that means that one of them is going to stay in that position. So you're going to press with this side. It's kind of like what we did with the flies where we held one out, but this is going to be a press. This is going to be a little bit easier, so you'll be able to use a little bit more load, but not a ton because you're holding it in that low position. You're not holding it down here. If they're holding it down here, that means their chest is given out on them, and that's too much weight. They're going to be holding it where their arms are 90 degrees. You're only coming down to 90 degrees and back up. Okay, then you're going to switch and you're going to do the other side. But you do one side the entire time. Again, you're going to hold it in that low position. When you're done, you come to the parallel grip position, take those legs, raise them up, and then you're going to roll yourself right out. Now, this is where it gets confusing. This is going to take some coaching. Make sure that you are very clear about how this circuit runs. Make sure they're listening to you, and when someone comes from this actual exercise to this one, and then they go to this one, you're going to have to really coach them on where they're going. So exercise number 2 is the alternating goblet step up. So they're coming here. The reason it's laid out funky is because of room purposes. So you want goblet. The reason you want goblet is that you're going to be using your chest to keep this, to hold this kettlebell in place. So you're still engaging that chest. Now, if they can't do that, or their shoulder bothers them or whatever, they can simply do 2, just like this, okay? And they'll get more weight. But ideally, you want the goblet. Again, you're going to alternate. So you come up, push up, come down, switch. Come up, push up, come down, switch. So you're alternating. You alternate at the bottom, but you come straight up. Notice I'm not falling forward when I do this. I'm not tilting forward. If you see that, it's either too high of a bench, too much weight. Take them down to a lower bench first, then lower the weight if they can't do that. Try to keep these weights back here so that they're not tripping over them when they do the exercise. That's exercise number 2. And again, if you need to, you can use a step if those are too much. Exercise number 3, they come back here. This is the alternating medicine ball push-up. So they're going to do an opposite position. Their knees are on the ground, and then they switch over. Push all full range of motion, and then they switch. Now, make it a little bit more challenging. You're on your toes. Try not to be doing this number. You want to try to stay stable. Keep those hips stable. Now, if that's not enough for you, you can grab 1 or 2 of these. Okay, you can switch each time, or if that's not enough, you can do both at the same time. So it just depends on what their level is, and you can make it as easy as hard. The further you pull those legs in, the easier that exercise is. Then they come over here, and they're going to be doing the goblet, alternating goblet reverse lunge. So once again, try to have it in the goblet. Now, by now, they may be so fatigued that it might be difficult for them to hold it into that position. That's okay. They can simply use 2. They can do 2 kettlebells at the same time. That's not a problem. When they're alternating, nice long reach. Okay, come straight down, push with the heel. Now my balance is all off. Switch, push. Notice my chest is staying up. I'm not falling forward and doing this number, which is common. Okay, my chest stays up, full range of motion, and I'm pushing through the heel. So I feel that in my glutes. I try not to, you don't want them isolating their quads. You want them isolating their glute muscles. Okay, circuit number 3, or the 2 main circuits. You're going to do a cardio kick in the middle, and I'll show you that at the end. Circuit number 3. Sumo squats. Now, Sumo squats, you really don't need more than maybe one riser. We have set up with none, and that's probably adequate. You'll notice that we have these little benches. So for the heavier kettlebells, where people are lifting a little bit heavier kettlebells, it's easier because they don't have to go down as far, and this is typically what you'll see when they go down that far. What I'd rather see is them come down with their hips down. Then they can have that full range of motion. They really don't need to go any deeper than that. 90 degrees is all they need to do. Squeeze those glutes when they come up. So they're squeezing that butt muscle. Then they just set it back down there, and they can even walk up and set it down and then walk back a little bit. Again, all you have to do on this one to make it easier, lighten the weight, make it harder, increase the weight. And you'd be surprised at how much people can do on that exercise, as long as they don't compromise form. Exercise number 2 is going to be the equalizer dips. Now, on the equalizer dips, they're going to be starting with their heels against here. Notice that I need very little resistance or very little load. I'm taking up most of my load through the legs, okay? Now, if they need a little bit more, they bring the legs back here. Now, I'm taking up less and my range of motion is better. You can also bring your legs here and then help assist come up, drop down, help assist come up. And obviously, for the advanced people, they just don't need any weight, or they don't need to assist themselves at all. And if you can even throw a weighted vest on for the super advanced, but that's only for the super advanced. Now, if some of them can't do that, they can always come over here and they can do their tricep dips over here, okay? They're still working their chest. It isolates the triceps a little bit more, but you're still working your chest, and if they, again, that's for the people that can't do that. Next, you're gonna have your kettlebell deadlift. So the kettlebell deadlift. Again, when you pick this up, engage the core, bend at the knees, and pick up with your legs. Now, here you want to have a slight bend in your legs. You don't want them locked out, but you want a slight bend. You come down, keep that back straight. You're not rounding it out like this. You're keeping the back straight. You come up, you squeeze the glutes. If you don't have enough weight, you can always grab 2 kettlebells. Come up, squeeze the glutes. This is basically a stiff leg deadlift, but you're doing it with kettlebells. Again, to make it easier, shorten the range of motion, lighten the load, and it makes it much, much easier. Last exercise is the RIP 60 push-up, RIP 60 fly. Notice how these are staggered all over, how much room you have in between all of these. The reason is because if anybody does the fly, they have a big wingspan here. So if they're doing the fly, you need a little bit more room. So with this, you're going to demonstrate at about a 60-degree angle. You come down, you squeeze, you try to squeeze, touch the handles together, open face grip, parallel grip, okay? Again, you start with the high position, demonstrate the high or the position where you're almost standing. The further you come up, the easier this gets. I mean, it gets to the point where you don't even really need to do anything. The further you go back, the harder this exercise becomes. If you want to, the hardest it is when your feet are against the wall. You come up, you squeeze. Now, if that's not enough, you can do the fly. Okay, and you just come all the way out. Keep a slight bend in that arm. Don't ever lock the arm out. That puts way too much stress on the joint. So have a slight bend in that arm. And there are your 2 circuits. Now, your cardio circuit or your cardio kicker in the middle, you're going to do 3 rounds, 33 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. You're doing the split squat jump. So, split squat jump, you're starting the right side. You come down. What you're going to demonstrate is just basically a pulse. Just like this. Again, you want them concentrating on using that glute muscle. Otherwise, they're going to be using their quads. And most people are quad dominant. So concentrate on using the glute. If they need a little bit more, you can add that hop in there. Okay? Then you're going to do the isometric wipers. So you're going to come down here. Most people are going to be on their knees. They're going to be slightly bent, and they're just going to be going back and forth like this. That's plenty for most people. Your beginners are going to just simply be doing something like this. Just a slight bend in their knees or in their arms. Notice my knees are further forward. Okay, my hip is up. The further my knees go back and the further down my hips go, the harder this exercise is, as well as the further down I go. You need to be in a wide stance, otherwise it's going to be too much on their arms and they're not going to be able to do this. So you got to have a wide stance with the arms. Now, want a little bit more? Come down on your toes. Just like that. Again, don't compromise your Your shoulder blades. Your shoulder blades shouldn't come together. They should stay apart. Otherwise, you're going to lead to other problems. But you want your shoulder blades, what I mean by that is when your shoulder blades come together like this, they should be out. They should be wide when you're doing this exercise. Otherwise, you're compromising the shoulder joint. You're compromising a lot of other muscles in there. You shouldn't have to do that. If they do, then bring the exercise down. Okay. So then you're going to finish up doing squat, jump, left. And again, you're going to do 3 rounds. And when I mean squat or split squat jump is you're going to do the pulses. For most people, they're just going to do the pulses pushing through the heel. For some, they're going to add that hop in there to get that heart rate up. But keep in mind, this is in between the 2 circuits. This is not at the end or the beginning. This is in between the 2 circuits, so they still have a circuit to go. That's all of the resistance part of it. Then you have the team challenge. When you're doing the team challenge, do something that involves legs or chest. So you could do Sally up down with legs or chest. There's a lot of different team challenges you can do on the leg or chest workout. But make sure you stick with legs or chest. Do not try to throw shoulders or back or anything like that in there. You need that recovery time. There's a reason why we have the muscle groups that we do and why we have the rest in between. So their team is RD3, but most importantly with the team challenge, make it fun.